Woo! Today, I'm going to teach you how to draw anything, like a bird, a plant, people in general. This is literally the process I do for everything. Beginners are going to benefit from this the most, so if you're a complete beginner, stick around, okay? The lesson's going to be short. Let's get started. Okay, let's pop into this real fast. I'm going to say this in a lot of different videos, but you can draw anything with 3 simple shapes, okay? And kind of an amalgam of those shapes. Like, I mean anything. You can draw a bird, you can draw a person, you can draw a tree, whatever it is that you want. So let's kind of go over what those 3 shapes are and kind of understand what they are, all right? So, before that, don't forget, hit the like button and hit the subscribe. I'm going to be posting a lot more informative videos, and let's get into it immediately. So right off the bat, I'm going to go over here, 3 shapes, right? For one, the sphere, right? And I don't mean the circle. I mean, you can definitely obviously use a circle, but I mean like the sphere, right? The 3D ball shape. And kind of understanding that, and kind of understanding that like in 3D space. It's really easy to do, right? You just imagine a ball in space. Sphere. Then there's the cube. Right? Like an ice cube. Again, not just a square. We're talking about like the cubes that you drew in school. Right? Understanding that. Right? And by when I say understanding that, I mean kind of understanding generally how it sits in space. So, for example, a cube like this will be sitting on a ground plane. We're looking down on this cube right now. Right? Let's say the floor will be something like that around it. We're looking down on this cube. You know why? Because we can see the top of it right there. We can see the top right here. If we're looking up at the cube, it would look more like this. You'll be able to see the bottom of it if we're looking up at the cube. And obviously if it's like a ground plane, it would just kind of hide the bottom of that. Okay? Just kind of understanding that. So we're also seeing it from the right side over here because we can see the right side of that cube. Okay? And vice versa. The cube says number 1 right here, sphere, number 2, cube, and number 3, and people change this up, it doesn't really matter, but you could say the cone shape is pretty good because that, or you can say cylinder, either one, right? Because a cone can also be a cylinder, right? It can kind of be the exact same thing. You can kind of open it up and make it like that. So it's mostly the same. And you have to understand, there's really not much complexity. It's really simple. So if you were to take these 3 shapes, okay? And what we would do is we're kind of like, well, how do you take them? And like, first thing I want you to do is draw a bunch of them just for fun. So if you look through, let's say we're looking through, we have X-ray vision, we're looking through this. The ground plane is going to be about here. Right in the back, the cone is going to be sitting down like that, and then over here, same thing. If we look at the ground plane of the box, the cube, we see X-ray vision, right? Understanding stuff like that, and mostly a lot of that stuff comes from 1, your brain power, obviously, just understanding, and then 2, drawing it and understanding it, right? So let's just say the back over here is something like this, if we're, the back area. I'm understanding things in 3D, and that's going to help a lot, right? A lot. So let's take these 3 shapes and apply it to something, right? Let's look at a bird really fast, okay? So over here, we're going to have a bird. So we're looking at this bird right now, and I kind of think right off the bat, his head looks very cylindrical. And so I'm going to think maybe in shapes like this. It's kind of like half a cube. I'm going to do that little dot, as if I'm looking through the shape, just to kind of help you understand, right? So I'm thinking of a shape like that, and then his body is very round. Right? It looks like a warped how do you say this? A little bit of a warped, like a droplet or something, right? Which is a combination of that sphere, right? And a little bit of the cone over here too, if we're to really kind of split hairs like that, right? So let's just do the see-through thing, right? I understand that. Like this in the back. And it kind of makes this shape, right? Let's go, the face right here, the beak is like a cone, obviously. And then you just have the feet over here, which are essentially like cylinder shapes. That's my understanding. And then let's put a circle here for the eye. Why not? Just to kind of get it going. So that's my general understanding when I look at a bird. When I look at this bird, that's kind of what I see in my head. I see literally that shape. Okay? And understanding and then doing are two different things. Do I draw this out every time? No. For myself, I see this in my head and I understand it. And I kind of, that becomes more like this. I'll kind of go this, you know, and I'm gonna shortcut it. Here, 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 right? Something like this, and then I'll stick a shape over here. You know, and this will become my pre-shorthand right here. Something like that. I'm already shortcutting it, right? From one over here, from the one would be the understanding, and then two would be the application eventually. Do I do this right here? Do I do that? Did I used to do that ever? I did that to understand that stuff. And I kind of still do that sometimes every now and then to remind myself. I break down objects like this. I understand the simple shapes of it. Because the more difficulty you have with a shape, the more you have to fall back on this, right? And then the less difficulty, the easier it is to kind of shortcut like I did right here. Just kind of draw like a wiggly, you know, like a bird shape like that. Does that make sense? Let me know if this resonates with you in the comments. Please let me know. I'm trying to make like more programs and stuff like that on Skillshare, and I'm trying to, I don't know what I'm going to put on my main website, but I want to put like a large program on my main website to help everybody out. Or I don't know, whatever helps anyone out. So let's move on to the next concept, okay? So now we're looking at, we're applying this exact same simple shapes to, you know, a vase, right? Exactly the exact same thing, right? You almost don't even really need it, right? So right here, I'm thinking of like kind of a plate shape, right? But it's also, it's like a coin shape. It's like the bottom of a cone per se, right? And I'm looking down on it, remember? I'm looking down. How do I know that? Because I can see the top of the vase. Barely, just barely you can see it. But I'm accentuating it a little bit. I'm gonna pull in here, and this is the shape I see, a very cone-like shape, but it's kind of like a combination of like a cylinder and a cone. It's almost like it cuts off here. I'm gonna put these little dots in the back for the 3D view, like that's what I see in the back. And then over here, it's very, very cone, very, very cylinder-like over here in this area. And I'm taking into account the volume, right? The volume of this, I'm thinking like, okay, this is round, right? This goes around the corner here, right? And so I'm thinking in my head like, okay, this is not going to be a flat object, right? I know what vases look like in general. You can kind of tell from the circle here that there's going to be a thickness to that, and you want to take that into account. I don't know how exactly that will apply. Usually it'll apply by having you kind of, you know, draw your lines a little bit more curved. You know, it'll kind of help you line art wise, but I just want you to kind of understand that, and that's like a big part of it. You're thinking in 3D, and I'm gonna say that's gonna be the mantra of the channel. I'm probably gonna write it on the what do you call it, on the banner of the channel. Think in 3D. Over here is clearly a circle, right? Clearly a modified circle, because it's a bulging a little bit more over here in this area, a little bit more than a regular ball. But we're starting with the understanding of a sphere, right, of a ball. We're starting with that understanding, and you can always adjust it. Like right now, I think this is a little bit too small. I could make it bigger with proportions, but that's really easy to do, especially if I was doing this essentially in pencil. I could just make this real big right now. But right now I can tell from my eye, okay, this should be thinner or this should be bigger. And that's how you adjust these simple shapes. If you ever use a 3D program, they kind of do that. You do that all the time. I'm using pen right here, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just kind of telling you this. And then right here I'm having another curve because it's another kind of flat plate shape at the bottom there, which would be like the bottom of a, again, maybe like a cone. But that's kind of what I'm seeing in my mind, and these are the simple shapes. This is what I mean by break everything on simple shapes, right? If it gets too complicated. Let's go into another one over here, okay? Okay, let's go into this one. So this is actually a man sitting down, right? How do you think of like the figure, right? A couple of different ways. He's got that big jacket, and that's really gonna lend into kind of what I'm thinking. So right now, I'm thinking of like a general head, and we can go over the general head in another video, by the way. Just ask me to go over heads in, like, literally write it. If there's enough of them, I'm gonna go over it, okay? It's the curve down here, and I'm just gonna draw again what is going through my mind here. I'm thinking of like the circle of the skull down here at the angle downward. Okay, doke. Thinking of something like that. Very simple placeholder because we're not doing a head drawing. This is again the start. I'm thinking of, like right there, that shape is very triangular, maybe like for the jaw. I'm gonna go over here, and the coat starts pretty high on his back, and I'm gonna go out, down, maybe even more outward. So it's gonna flare out a little bit more, and then this jacket's gonna pull in. I'm kind of following the jacket per se, just the general shape right now, and I'm not thinking of anything in particular right now. I'm just thinking of like a blobby, geometric shape. Not even blobby, but more geometric. Line right here, that's the first sign. I'm thinking about it as a little bit of a tube, like a cylinder. Curve right here. Gets smaller at the wrist, but he's got this, he has this big old jacket, right? So it gets pretty big around this area. And then this pulls up over here into another cylinder, curve, and then curve down here. Right, he has this big billowy thing going on, and you want to take that into account because it's volume, right? You draw his hand over here. Again, we're just thinking in very simplistic shapes, okay? Nothing wild. Don't think of it as a hand. And that's a great, another great advice I would say that I follow, that someone gave me. Think of it as abstract shapes. Don't think of it as a hand, because when you start thinking about it as a hand, right, or as whatever it is, sometimes it scares you, because it used to scare me a lot. But this is like a scare prevention, going into actually, you know, simplistic shape mode. You can see the edge of that over there. It's like a, again, it's just more of a block. Line over here. He's got the other side. Curve right here for the upper part of the arm, and then we have the lower part of the arm. I like to separate it there at the elbow, even though there's a lot of separations in here. You can draw later, because that's where the most flexion is going to be, right? It's going to be the most movement there. We could draw that book in his hand, but it's not a big deal. Again, these are just how you start things. This is how I think about stuff. Let's go over here to the leg, the knee right here. If we were to draw a straight line down mentally, it kind of lines up over here with the coat edge. And then it goes out a little bit. Flares out a bit. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to answer every single question in the comment section. Okay, I want to put like as much on here as you need. Curve over here. Thinking about this as a little bit of a cone as well, because it does flare out at the bottom. A little bit, not much. And then we're going to pull back over here. And the coat is over there just kind of sitting down, right? And there is a separation in here of the coat. Maybe it's going to hang a little bit more there. Just a bit off the chair. I'm going to find the far side cylinder of a leg, right? So there's a gap here. I'm looking at the negative space. Finding again, the edge of the pants. I like to cut it off there. And then I'm finding out where it's going to line up here. It's kind of around the mid of the hand, mid area of the hand. Let's go over here for the far side foot. Pulling in here. And more or less, it's just a triangle, to be honest. It's just like a boot shape. It's kind of triangular. I would work on boot shapes, because that was like one of the last things I did. It's like a swooping down. But again, it's like in this boot shape, I see a square, another square, and a little bit of a curve at the end, right? These shapes can all be broken down into the 3 shapes I mentioned before. And that's what you're doing. It's kind of these Frankenstein version of these shapes. But what they do, those 3 shapes, is they make you understand volume of everything, of like everything. You can understand the volume of anything you draw now. And that helps you in a lot of ways. It helps you understand. It helps you be less afraid. And what it also helps you do that I don't see people talk about a lot is it helps you draw stuff in the absence of information. So, for example, if you see a, if you have like a picture, someone gives you a picture to draw, and you're like, you know, because I don't know if you've done a lot of commissions, because I have, and sometimes people give you a picture and the picture's terrible, right? It's like the light is too light, it's blown out, and it blows out whenever it's too bright, it'll blow out information, right? And the way you get information back is by understanding stuff like this. You know, I gotta pull this here. So for example, this leg has to go back there. I guess that information was there. But you know that stuff because you know the way physics work, you know the way the human body works, or even just like even just an object you've never seen. You know if it's one way on this side, it's gonna be even on the other side generally, right? Like that vase. You know the other side's gonna look kind of like this, usually, unless it has a handle. So this is how I would look at this figure right here in simple shapes, and then I would break into the details and all of that. I'm just teaching you kind of how to understand, right? And the more you understand, like I said, the less fear you're gonna have, the more you're gonna be able to draw more things of different caliber. So when I draw things like demons, when I draw things like monsters, or anything related to that, I'm literally thinking about what I'm talking about right now. I'm literally thinking about the 3D aspect to everything, even fictional creatures, because you've seen other animals walk around and you know their volumes, and you know the way people walk around, you know their volumes. Every object has this. That is it. I hope this helped you. Let me know if it did. I would really love to kind of have a discussion with you. I am going to post all the time on this channel. Most of them are going to be little advice videos on the mentality of art, but I also want to post like good stuff on here, so you don't need to go anywhere else. You'll have everything you need to start drawing. Thank you so much. Hit that like, and I'll see you next time. All right, and if you want to keep learning how to draw and keep pushing your skills, go right here to this video on here on this side. That video I put because it's the exact same theme as the video you just saw, and I like it as a bit of a pair. So absolutely go check that out right now. Another short video.